G'day guys, and today I have a very niche video on ethics, specifically the ethical interactions between animals and humans. Just a bit of backstory for this very specific topic. I was working an event shift at the Star Casino a few weeks ago, and it was basically so boring, there was nothing going on, at least for the first bit, that I began to write down various subjective ethical theories and my responses, basically disproving them. Once the work picked up, I quickly forgot about these papers and stuffed them in my pocket or something. However, I did recently rediscover them, and it was very interesting reading all the little dot points, the Socratic dialogues they've written up, and basically how my brain brought up points, then managed to cross them out. Now, of course, this is very inconsequential compared to the great metapolitical battles we're currently undergoing in this paradigm shift, but it was so interesting to me that I wanted to make a video, and it might even be contextually relevant, as it's currently Christmas, you're eating your freaking ham or whatever, and that one vegetarian will bring up how it is immoral to eat animals. But fear not! With these wise words, I hope they're wise words, you shall be able to beat off this heinous fiend. But that's enough backstory, let's get on with the subject at hand. Why is it okay to eat plants, but not animals? Plants and animals are both subsets within the categorization of living things. In order to rationally treat these two sets differently, there must be a difference in characteristics between the two sets. Otherwise, you are merely discriminating against one group. In my own anecdotal experience, the distinguishing factor between plants and animals that rationalizes differential treatment is the prevalence of a nervous system within the animal and the lack thereof within the plant. Plants are capable of communicating discomfort and stress to other nearby plants through chemical or gaseous emissions. However, they are incapable of feeling pain. If this characteristic is agreed upon as the reason for differential treatment between plants and animals, you should bring in the following extrapolation. Could we not then, through genetic or environmental manipulation, remove or invalidate an animal's nervous system, and thereby eat it morally as it lacks the ability to feel pain? Within the agreed context of the argument, this renders plants and animals indistinguishable from one another. If the characteristic for differential treatment is taken away, then how can differential treatment be justified? From this point, the argument can either go two ways: the expansion of the ethical system, or the redefinement of the distinguishing characteristic between plants and animals that justifies differential treatment. A common change to the ethical theorem, at least in my own anecdotal experience, is something like this. We should choose to become vegetarians as we should choose to reduce the suffering of the world as much as we can. It is easy to pick apart this ethical theory, as there are many things that humans do, even vegetarians do, that cause suffering. First, you must establish and agree upon the idea that stealing increases the suffering of the world. Once this is established, your vegetarian friend must logically become a vegan, unless they already are one, of course, as taking eggs from a chicken, milk from a cow, etc., has the effect of increasing the suffering of the world. Next, you must establish that some plants die when you eat them. This reduces your vegan friend to the status of a forager or a gatherer, as they are now only able to consume food like tomatoes, apples, eggplants, grapes that do not require the killing of the plant. It is only in this foraging state that your friend can be considered moral, as they have, as far as they are able to, reduced the suffering that they cause. They are not killing anything, and they are also not stealing anything, as tomatoes, apples, cherries, etc. are given up voluntarily by the plant for the purpose of consumption. If your friend or ideological opponent proposes this ethical theory and does not live in a foraging or gathering state, you are free to call them immoral by their own standards. If you really want to hammer home the point on how this ethical theory is stupid, you can point out various examples within your own life in which you cause unnecessary suffering. For example, when you walk on grass, the pressure and the squeezing of moisture from the ground kills hundreds of microscopic organisms. Additionally, you should never ever take antiviral or antibacterial medicines, as this would cause unnecessary harm to the pathogens attacking your body. Ultimately, however, this ethical theory merely blows up in your face. All you need to do is get your ideological opponent to admit that life is preferable to death. This is often self-evident, as a person is only alive because they prefer life to death. In order to reduce suffering as much as it can, an individual should logically kill themselves. However, we have established that life is preferable to death. Since we prefer to remain alive, but are constantly causing harm to other living creatures, we run into the problem of inevitable evil. Morality is the choice between good and evil. Where there is no choice, there can be no morality. Within the context of life being preferable to death, we are unable to choose to reduce the suffering of the world wherever we can. Thus, the suffering we inflict cannot be considered a moral issue. So there you have it, a few little thoughts that I popped up on that boring ass shift, explaining why eating animals is not immoral. Feel free to use these points I've made within the video whenever you wish. Maybe the conversation around the dinner table isn't lively enough for you, and you want to spice things up, drop a few truth bombs, that sort of thing. Thanks all for sticking around, and have a good one.